Have you ever had someone in your car that you just wanted to pull over and kick them the hell out? I just had two guys in my car. And during the time that they were in my car, they were talking about how much money they were making and how they were going to have to make a sacrifice to go from their 5,000 plus a month house that has an Olympic-sized pool, and they were going to have to sacrifice and downgrade to a house that doesn't have an Olympic-sized pool, and how horrible that's going to be. I just wanted to pull over and tell them, get the fuck out of my car and stop complaining. Stop whining about something you have no idea about. But I was polite, and I kept going, and I took them where they needed to go. I dropped them off. So many people in America today don't know what real sacrifice is. They want to whine and complain and bitch that they are having to make sacrifices, when the reality is we live in an America of two worlds. The world of the wealthier, higher class people, and then the rest of us. And then these kids that grow up in these wealthy homes, and they come to Austin to go to college, and they have no idea what real sacrifice is. It's so frustrating. It's like they have no fucking clue what it's really like to suffer and sacrifice. Sacrifice is like when my father went without eating because there wasn't enough food for my siblings and my mother when we were homeless. I remember watching my parents argue about how my dad needed to eat. And my dad pushed back and said, there's not even enough food for the children. I can't. That is sacrifice. Every day since I started the homeless shelter, I make sacrifices. And most days I say nothing about it. I don't ask for praise. I don't ask for thank you. I just get it done. And these kids are in my car. I call them kids. They're probably late 20s, early 30s. One of them talking about how he makes $105,000 a year, and he's going to have to take a small pay cut in order to go work at Oracle if he can have a chance at a big company. I'm like, clearly you don't realize the world most Americans live in. Most Americans live in a world where they're working 2-3 jobs to still be poor, where they have to rack up debt just to put food on the table. That's the reality for a lot of Americans. For a lot of Americans, America is a first world country in name only. But in day-to-day life, it's a third world nation for them. And then you got these rich people have no clue what life is really like. Every day, I sacrifice me and my family's private space for our home can be a shelter. Every day, I have to worry about how am I going to keep the shelter going? How am I going to pay to help the homeless? Since the homeless shelter got started, me and my family has been spending well over $2,000 a month. And when we first started, we were financially okay. But we have spent so much money on the shelter, keeping it going, housing the homeless, because we don't have grants. And we've drained Dan's retirement and his savings to the point that we were at a decision. Either I needed to start making significant amounts of money to put into the shelter to keep the shelter going, or we needed to close the shelter. So a while back ago, I started driving Uber. I'm driving Uber 7 nights a week. No day off. I'm emotionally exhausted. During the day, I have my company, my landscaping company, which I can't take money out of for the shelter, or else I can't pay my employees a living wage. And they need that money. For they don't have to rack up debt. I have to run the shelter as well, and then I have to drive Uber in order to pay to keep the shelter going. That is sacrifice. Where every day I have to make sacrifices. Almost all day, every day. I don't spend much time with my girls, with my daughters, because I'm working to pay, to volunteer, to house the homeless, because the shelter doesn't get grant money. We have some sustaining donors that donate a small amount through PayPal each month because it's the only money transfer option we have for the nonprofit that people can sign up for once a month donations. And that helps, and it helps a lot. We have people in the community that donate food and clothes and hygiene, and that helps keep the shelter going. But there's a lot of things that they won't take that stuff as payment. I have to make money. There has to be money for the shelter. That sacrifice every day. And I got these two kids that were in my damn car talking about how they have to give up their Olympic-sized pool. I just want to shake them and tell them, grow up, get out of your fucking delusion. The vast majority of Americans don't have an Olympic-sized pool and can't afford to rent a place that has one. But it was so horrible for this guy. It's like, he makes $105,000 a year, he said. Almost no one I know makes $100,000 a year. And it's like the people that do make that kind of money, that have the ability to make change in our society, that have the ability to better other people's lives, they're too busy spending it on renting places with an Olympic-sized pool. A week ago, I had two people in my car, and one of them was complaining, two ladies I picked up at the hotel downtown. One of them was complaining about how she couldn't find her special lipstick. There's a special shade from a special brand that costs $200 a stick. And I'm thinking to myself, do you realize how many people could be fed with that $200? If you're going to waste $200 on lipstick, what else are you wasting money on? Are you buying it at Neiman Marcus? Or should I say needless markup? Because the vast majority of Americans make fun of people that shop at those rich stores like that because of how wasteful those people are. When you can buy nearly the same stuff at Walmart. It don't make no sense. For the vast majority of Americans, we live in an America of two worlds. Those living in the delusion of the rich world, and then there's the rest of us. Working 2 and 3 jobs to still be poor. Fortunately, my family has a little bit of extra money each month, mostly because of Dan, that we can afford to do the shelter more than most. We have 10 acres of land, more than most people, so we were able to create the shelter. But now we're at the point that we can't afford to keep the shelter going like we were. We've drained Dan's retirement and his savings down slowly, just keeping the shelter going, that we no longer can do it. And I have to drive Uber every night. And I meet some great people. And then I meet some stuck-up people like these two kids talking about this stupid-ass Olympic-sized pool and how horrible it's going to be. And it's frustrating because most days I don't complain. Most days I don't talk about how hard it is to keep the shelter going or what I have to do to keep the shelter going. In fact, until today, I had never mentioned that I've been doing Uber online. Today was the first time that I put it online, earlier, about an hour ago. I'm frustrated. And I'm angry that we live in an America that is a third world country with a first world name, and those that have the wealth live in a delusional bubble while the rest of us suffer. I wish the wealthy could see the world the rest of us live in.